Good morning. Welcome to Life's Dream number 22, Sci-Fi musical. I thought we would just start outside for a minute listening to the Sparrow Choir. And we'll go in and hear another bird, the seagull choir. Good morning, everyone. Do you have your coffees? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Virtual hugs to everyone out there.
Story time. I'm excited about this one. So, my friend James Lee Stanley and I, in 1976, started working on a musical, a science fiction musical. We finished it, all the songs and the script in 1978, and then the actor you might know, William H. Macy, when I submitted it to various theaters, somehow found it, gave me a call and said he wants to direct this musical. And so he came over to my house, and we spent quite some time together talking about it, and we got James Lee in on the call. And I think one day when William H. Macy came over, James was here in Chicago, because James is from California. And then we started working on it with Bill Macy, and then he got a call to New York. And the next thing we saw was all these big movies, but the project was dropped. Well, if you remember the story of Holly and Little Richard, when Little Richard actually stayed...
Hi.
Oh, hi, she's waving. When Little Richard actually stayed with Holly and her brother Gary in an apartment that Holly and Gary shared, for a week, Gary was always so nice to me and really supportive of chamber blues and all the projects. And when he heard this tape, at the time he heard the tape, he was working with Tennessee Williams, directing a play for Tennessee at the Goodman Theater. And he offered this tape of all James Lee and my songs for the play to Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams fell in love with it. Gary said that he played it all day. Every day he played the tape. And then he said, Tennessee wants to see the script. So I went ahead and mailed the script to Tennessee Williams. And then I get a call saying Tennessee Williams would like to work on finishing the play with you and James for production. And of course, James and I said, please, let's do it. And then Tennessee died. And a few years later, Gary died. What's interesting is the play they were working on at the Goodman Theater.
The last play that they were to do.
Yeah, the last play Tennessee wrote, the last play Gary directed was called A House Not Meant to Stand. So I thought I would just add that.
That's pretty profound.
Profound. So here's the story. It's called The Buttonwillow, a science fiction musical. So the story actually takes place over a span of almost 1,000 years. So I'm going to do the short version, and that I wrote it out. I'm just going to read it to you guys because that way I could assure this is not going to take 3 hours. Okay. A group of people with special skills and knowledge saw the underlying plight of the earth, and it was not reversible, they realized. In the hopes of finding a livable place in the universe, they selected a group of pioneers who set out on a secret one-way journey on a starship, which would later be called the Buttonwillow, to preserve humankind. After almost 900 years in cryogenic sleep, as the search was guided by computers, the pioneers awakened to find themselves landing on a beautiful, exotic landscape they later called the planet Juno. The first thing they did was try to drill for oil, but oddly, the stainless steel drill bits not only couldn't penetrate the sand-like soil, but on immediate contact, they broke. Yet, the pioneers could dig into the soil very easily with their hands. Quickly, they found that the science on Earth did not apply to this planet. At first, the planet seemed hostile, but eventually they learned how to listen to the voices of nature and were eventually able to live in a beautiful and joyful harmony with this exotic planet. There was also something in the atmosphere that enhanced and exaggerated the personalities and characters of each individual. A great scenario for a playwright. The society grew to become widely diverse. The brave people were extremely brave. The curious people were extremely curious. The funny people were extremely funny. And everyone was extremely peaceful and joyful. Some of the older people who came from Earth were extremely homesick and wanted to go back, even though they expected the planet Earth to be unlivable. They were Earthborn, and they were drawn. Some youngsters born on Junar were irresistibly curious adventurers, and they wanted to join the homesick elders. But it was risky for all of them because they left Earth as a dying planet. Now, the beginning of this song, Buttonwillow, that James and I wrote, takes place on Juneau as a starship is, well, I should say, when we wrote the song, The Buttonwillow, it wasn't going to be a play. But at one point, James and I had written 2 songs. We went, these songs are not 2 songs, this is a whole musical. And this was the first song we wrote. So the song Buttonwillow takes place on Juneau, the new planet, as a starship, the Buttonwillow, is waiting and ready to head on another long and dangerous journey, but this time back to Earth. Pirouette. The Buttonwillow River winds through Onanawa County, and the moons of June hour shine to light my sweet Yvonne's way. Amid the meadow fern, the starship Buttonwillow waits. Nearly a millennium, and now it is the day, and we'll board the Buttonwillow, and we'll cry, and aboard the Buttonwillow, it's a silver river ride, flowing home. 1,000 years ago, we left our worn and weary Earth. Through time and through space, our search for Juneau brought us to this day. Beneath the midnight amber glow, we'll gather in the shadow and slip into our earth-born cradles, deep sleep drifting toward Milky Way. And we'll board the Buttonwillow, and we'll glide, and aboard the Buttonwillow, it's a silver river ride, flowing home. Under earthlight, memories return of a faceless moon and a starless sky and a windswept treeless plain. And now the Buttonwillow glides to land in fields of flowers. We've learned to live in peace with Earth this time. This time we really know the way, and we'll board the Buttonwillow, and we'll glide, and we'll board the Buttonwillow, it's a silver river ride, and we'll board the Buttonwillow, and we'll glide, and we'll board the Buttonwillow, So basically, that song covers the whole script of the play. It tells the whole story. So, we're still on Juneau. And a group of youngsters who were born on the planet Juneau are asking the elders what it was like on Earth when they left. Once upon a time and place, there existed deep in space the birthplace of the human race. A long, long time ago, it was a land of milk and honey, paradise, the horn of plenty. We wanted to trade it all for money. A long, long time ago, Mother Nature gave us her advice. Don't fool with me, it isn't nice. We blew it more than once or twice. A long, long time ago. Oh no, oh no, say it isn't so, say it isn't so. Oh no, oh no, say it isn't so, say it isn't so. The birds would cough when the dust would blow. If we ate too fast, we might even glow. And Mary kicked the bucket when her garden wouldn't grow. Long, long time ago. From Atlantic to Pacific, no disease was too specific. Doctors had it so terrific. Long, long time ago. The dove of peace took a kamikaze dive. Still they sang, we will survive, while the cucarachas waited to eat us alive. A long, long time ago. Oh no, oh no, say it isn't so, say it isn't so. Oh no, oh no, say it isn't so, say it isn't so. Every power was devoured, every blossom was deflowered, the whole darn Milky Way turned sour. A long, long time ago. Sing it. The whole darn Milky Way turned sour.
A long time ago.
So imagine we wrote that in 1976.
So prophetic.
Okay, so there were two characters on Juneau. One who boarded the starship Buttonwillow. Oh no, wait. The two characters that were on Juneau who had boarded the starship Buttonwillow by mistake when it left Earth. What should I do?
Scoot over.
Scoot over. Okay. My director, and by the way, I should tell you that everyone has been complaining to me that we need to see Holly more. So next week, Holly's got a story, an amazing story that she has not told people.
No.
And she's reluctant to tell it, but she's going to tell it next week about her vacation, 2-week vacation in Key West with Tennessee Williams. But later for that. So, there were two characters on the planet Juneau who boarded the starship Buttonwillow by mistake as it was leaving Earth. One was a Swiss immigrant in a wheelchair, and the other an African immigrant who was blind. Serendipitously, they met each other on Juneau, and from a distant and combative relationship, they developed a deep friendship and surprisingly became spiritual mentors. The song that James and I wrote took maybe 3 months, 6 months, trying to poetically describe a person in a wheelchair and a blind person was a beautiful challenge. So here, I'm just going to give you the lyrics to the song. Greeley and Flo, that's their names. Greeley and Flo, together they go, always a part of each other. To share is to love is to know that no one can make it alone. Greeley wakes up early in the morning. She finds her clothes. She don't turn on the light.
She's blind.
The song will tell them that.
Okay.
But thank you for... So, Greeley wakes up early in the morning. She finds her clothes. She don't turn on the light. She feels her way into the kitchen, puts the water on to boil, and listens as her friend lays sleeping. Flo stares at the rising sun and stretches. She lifts herself into the waiting chair, wheels her way into the kitchen, pours 2 cups of steaming coffee, and watches as the light fills Greeley's empty eyes. Nearly every afternoon can find them strolling, gently rolling through the park. Greeley's legs will move the chair. Flo's eyes will see everywhere. So they share a world that neither has alone. When I'm coming home from work, I see them. Yet I've never stopped to say hello. But sometimes I just can't help but wonder, would the world be much better off if only half of us could walk and only half could see? So talk about we are in this together.
Sorry.
So this last song that I'm going to play, as I understand, was Tennessee Williams' favorite. And the song in the play is being sung by the characters Greeley and Flo. So, and I'll tell you more about it when I'm finished. Pirouette.
He's a dancer.
This healing stuff can be pretty heavy. If we never learn to give, we'll be facing emptiness. If we never learn to live, there won't be much to miss. If we never learn to die, all the sooner death will come. And if we don't learn to love, the sky will fall. You know it's so hard to treat everybody just the same when we all are so different, playing different games. But you know, I don't really think that it matters so much at all. 'Cause if we don't learn to love, the sky will fall. Showing a face that's one of impassion, falling from the space of love, never offering a trace of heartfelt compassion, falling from the grace of love. So we'll just save all our money for that rainy day, 'cause you know it's coming soon. Soon we'll have to pay. But that ain't the kind of saving that's gonna save us at all. We better learn to love. The sky will fall. Yeah. It's a little message song.
Yes.